All right, here we are. So we're going to do a test today. All right, we're going to talk about some alternators. All right, so this is, what kind of vehicle is this? This is Tyrell. This is the owner of the vehicle.
Got a 2003 Chevy Suburban Z71.
All right, so we got a Suburban,
Got a
'03 Suburban.
got a stock alternator on here.
So it looks like a new alternator. So
Yes,
it's been, so it's a stock alternator,
Yes, sir.
stock size. So right there, 145 amp. Right there, it says alternator, 12 volt, 145 amp pass. All right, it says at idle, 116 amps. Right there, right on the label, okay? Right there, right on the label. See, right there, it says idle, 116 amps, and it's a 145 amp alternator. All right, so right now, we have the upgraded, he's got the big 3 going. So we've got the upgraded power going to the stock location here. And then we have this wire here going to a battery delete. He has no battery up front. And what battery do you have in the back?
I have a 80 amp hour LTO lithium bank.
So Yinlong, is that correct?
Yinlong.
All right, so we got an 80 amp hour Yinlong in the back. So right here I have this meter. It is set to DC. So 13.91 volts. So we're at the bottom of the spectrum on the Yinlong. Okay, so we know that. We know that. We've got the negative here, the ground, and we've got the positive probe here. So we've got this clamp. I've got it zeroed out. Got the clamp on the wire going from the front only to the battery bank. So we're only measuring the current going from the alternator to the battery bank. Okay? So if I were to do this here and clamp both of these wires, now we're going to clamp the power for the alternator supplying current to the vehicle plus the battery bank in the back. But we're not going to do that. We're going to clamp the wire here that goes from the front all the way to the battery in the back. All right, so now you can see DC. It's on DC current clamp, DC right here, and then A for amperage. Don't know if you can see that. Got a glare out here. A in this corner is for amperage, DC amperage. And right here is DC, and then V for voltage down here in this bottom right-hand corner. All right, Tyrell, go start it up. So this 145 amp alternator. These alternators that you car audio guys believe in, you swear by them on Facebook, on Instagram, all these companies that tell you the first thing that come out of their mouth that says, oh, you need a high amp alternator, high output alternator. They're trying to sell you a product. I'm here showing you the facts. Here's the proof right here. What does that say? 145 amp, and at idle, it says 116 amps of current. What does that say? Let's turn it. I know it's upside down and sideways, but right there it's saying about 15 amps of current going into the battery. 15 amps of current going into the battery. Okay? That's 15 amps going into the battery. Let's see what's going just to the vehicle. Wow. 2.5 amps going just to the vehicle. Now see what's going to the battery and the vehicle.
Big difference.
30 amps of current. 30 amps of current. But this thing says 145 amps and 116 amps at idle. It's at idle right now. The alternator is at idle right now, right? And it's not because it's a stock alternator. It's not because he got it from Advance Auto or Napa or O'Reilly's or wherever. It's because that's how alternators work. Okay? The battery bank is, look, 10 amps current. The battery bank is what it is. It's an LTO and it's good for a broad range of voltage. It is at the lowest spectrum of the voltage range right now. They're good for up to 16.8 volts. And the bottom line, the nominal voltage is like 13.8 for the yin long. They're 2.3 volt cells. 2.3 volts times 6 cells. That's 13.8 volts. Okay, I know that because I've dealt with them. So we're at the alternator's set point. Obviously, is somewhere around 14 to 14.2 volts, somewhere around in that area. So we're only getting 10 amps of current going back to the battery bank at idle. All right, Tyrell, go rev it up to about 2,000 RPMs and hold it steady. Just because I know people's going to say, oh, well, hey, look at that. He's revving it up. Oh, yeah, it went from 10 amps to 13, 14. Yep, 14 amps. All right, so it went from 10 amps of current at idle to 14 amps of current revved up. Now we're at 14, 13, 14. So yeah, y'all baseheads out there, y'all keep believing these alternator companies is trying to sell you an alternator. Oh, but that's not a McMahon on there. That's not a Singer. That's not a this, that, and the other. I've bought JS Alts. I bought McMahon. I bought this. I bought several different alternators. Okay, I've learned through my processes. Alternator is not what runs your audio system. Go ahead and turn the motor off. Okay, the alternator is not what runs your car audio system. Your battery is what runs your car audio system. The job of the alternator is to replenish the lost electricity back into your battery. Okay? When your battery level is close to your alternator voltage set point, then you have little to no current going into your battery. Now, when we put we're planning on putting two diodes on this alternator to increase the set point, the voltage set point. So when the battery's at 14 volts, but the alternator's saying, okay, now we want 15 volts. Now it's going to throw out more current into the battery. Okay, then that's how it works. Once your alternator gets to the set point, once your battery gets to the closer to the set point voltage of your alternator, then your alternator stops working as hard. The battery calls for current to come out of the alternator. I don't know exactly how to explain it. I know how it works in my head. I just don't know how to get the information out of my head, out of my mouth, into your ears. But the closer that the battery voltage gets to the set point of the alternator, the less current comes out of the alternator. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, the further away the set point is from the alternator to the battery. So let's say the battery's at 14 and the alternator set at 16 volts. Now we're pulling a lot of current from the alternator, and maybe that'll be a video for a later date. But again, I'm not an alternator guy. I do not recommend your first step to being replacing the alternator with a high output alternator. As far as electrical upgrades, I will always, always, always tell you battery first. All right, that's all for this one.